Hello and welcome to Messana's first episode of our Hydronics podcast. I'm your host for today, Soquel, and I'm joined by our co-founder, Francesco Marchesi.
Hello.
And we are Messana Hydronic Technologies. We are pioneers in hydronics and radiant cooling technology. If you don't already know, hydronics is just the side of the HVAC industry that uses water as a means to transfer thermal energy. It's much more sustainable and efficient, and so that's what we're all about here at Messana. We manufacture radiant ceiling panels that are installed behind the drywall of your ceiling. We run hot or cold water through them to heat or cool your environment. So that's a little bit about hydronics and Messana. We are joined by two very special guests today, all the way from New Zealand. We have Jerry and Darren from Waterware. How are you guys doing today?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah,
nice
we're doing good.
Here.
And Francesco, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Very happy to have them here. I spend almost 1 week right now with you guys, and I think hopefully they learn from us, and definitely learn a lot from them.
Yeah.
And thank you to be part of the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you guys very much for being here. I hope you guys have had a good time in California so far.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. We've really enjoyed ourselves, and been really well looked after. So
Awesome. Yeah, we got to go on a little mountain bike ride this weekend. That was a good time.
Yeah,
We got
it
to
was
ride
lots of fun.
some of the Santa Cruz mountains. Awesome. Nice. Well, Jerry, do you want to start and just let us know who you are and a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so I'm the general manager at Waterware. I've been there for quite a long time. I think it's 22 years. So started off very junior, and I've worked my way up through the business, and it's been quite an exciting journey, especially in the last probably five or 6 years, where we changed the direction of the business and really concentrated in that hydronic space and looked into cooling as well as heating. So that's been super exciting, which led to the relationship with Messana.
Awesome. And Darren, do you want to give us some little highlights about yourself?
Yes, I'm technical director. I started at Waterware in 1992. So 30 years, coming up on 30 years now. And I look after most of the design, run the design team, and strategic direction of the business is kind of what we do.
Awesome. Nice. Do you guys want to just provide a little background on, who Waterware is and what you guys have done over the last, I think I saw you guys have been around since like 1989, your website?
Yeah, 89.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, so originally we were very focused in plumbing. So we're design and supply mostly, and focused on plumbing products initially. And over the last 30 years, we've added bathroom wear. So we do like taps, showers, vanities, toilets in the front of wall category, and then behind the wall we have plumbing valves. We represent Califia New Zealand, which is a very banner supplier in this hydraulics market. And so we do pressure control, temperature control, flow control, water metering systems, and we've been doing radiant heating for probably the last 20 years.
Oh wow!
And so coming from that market, we have boilers and been doing radiator systems, underfloor heating systems, and now we're transitioning into radiant cooling, and we're looking at doing air management as well with ventilating and dehumidification.
Very cool.
As a business, we really like to be solution providers. So we're looking at an end-to-end kind of solution to the market.
You create a package where you can offer all the integrated solution for your customer, and typically your customer will be installer, right?
Yep, that's right. And it just means that we've got this connection with them where we can offer them everything. So they're talking just to Waterware, which I think is a great benefit to the market.
And that's what I learned from you guys. Seems like in New Zealand, it's more like similar entities of UK. Right, that's actually, you told me Australian is more looking America as a parallel market.
Yeah.
Is that correct? So
yeah, correct. So we're much more probably similar to the United Kingdom. Australians are very more.
Why is that?
That's just the way they behave, I guess.
From a cultural point of view,
Yeah.
Australians tend to be very loud, and Kiwis tend to be more reserved. So we're kind of more English than American.
Okay. Interesting.
Nice. And how has the radiant market looked over the last, 20 years or so? Is underfloor heating really big there?
I wouldn't say it's really big. It's still a niche
Okay,
industry, but it's been steadily growing. So when we started 25 years ago, it was only done commercially. So there was no residential, very, very little residential radiant heating.
Okay.
And kind of started with radiators mostly. And then more recently, as houses become kind of more clean in terms of aesthetic, they're looking for hidden solutions. And so floor heating has really driven that sort of change.
Okay. Nice. Pretty similar to us.
Exactly. I think the transition will be more like from radiator, so high temperature, to low temperature using radiant floor or radiant ceiling.
Yeah.
And we are going to talk later, but for sure, heat pump will be one of the reasons because we are here today and why we are believing the hydronic market could be leading the future versus air system or traditional air conditioning system as well.
Yeah, correct. And Waterware want to be one of the leaders in that innovation in the New Zealand market, and that brings us to California.
Yeah. That really brings us into how you guys have discovered radiant cooling, discovered Messana. What kind of happened there?
Yeah, so the evolution of our business again has been from high temperature radiant systems with radiators, and then it's transitioned into low temperature with underfloor heating. And also in heat sources, it used to be that most systems were driven by diesel. When I started doing radiant heating, the price per litre of diesel was about 40 cents per litre, and now it's $2.50.
Wow.
So there's been a transition to gas and gas condensing. So low temperature boilers you can connect directly to the floor, and then you can do temperature compensation where you have moving set point in the water temperature. But then more recently, there's been a push towards renewables. So, and that's driven, really by climate change, global warming, those sorts of things in the market. Yep. And so when we were looking at this sort of move in the market strategically, then we thought, okay, we need to add heat pumps to our portfolio to allow us to have a renewable option. And I remember we were having a strategy meeting. We were talking down about, okay, we need to start adding this to the portfolio. And we were only talking in terms of heating. So it's still just underfloor heating systems, and we're transitioning from gas appliances to heat pump. And then I can't remember who it was, but someone made the point was, well, like if the world's really getting warmer and you're a heating company, then aren't you going to be like the dinosaurs, right? Everyone's going to want cooling. And so that's when we started to explore. We've always been of the opinion that if you want to create comfort, you have to do it radiantly. So we've always competed against air-based systems. We've always resisted having air-based solutions because we're pushing that comfort barrier of you achieve that through radiant sources. Mm-hmm. And once you transition in your heat sources and you have a air-to-water heat pump and you're using it for heating, it's like, well, they also produce cold water. Yeah. So can you also do radiant cooling? And that's when we started looking around in the world, and we came across the Messana ceiling-based system. We initially started experimenting with floor-based cooling, but some of the limitations with floor-based cooling is you have high thermal mass, mm-hmm. and you're in contact with the radiant surface. Yes. So you're limited to the amount of power you can deliver with the floor. Number one, because you have to avoid making condensation, and so you can't chase the dew point really hard with a high mass solution. Yep. Because you don't have the ability to change the temperature of the radiant surface quickly. Yeah. And the second limiting factor with floor-based systems is because you're touching the radiant surface, if you make it too cold, you're not creating comfort. Yes, you can have a very strong cooling effect, but if you're standing on the floor, it's like you're walking around in a bottle store. Yep. So we experimented with underfloor cooling solutions. We saw the limitations, and that's why we looked around, and then we saw Messana with ceiling-based system. So the advantage with a ceiling-based system is low thermal mass. You can very quickly change the radiant surface temperature, and also you're not touching the radiant surface. So you can be much more aggressive with the temperature of the ceiling, create a much stronger cooling effect, but not destroy the comfort.
Exactly.
And so, just to put that into perspective, so steel panel radiators, which people quite familiar with, similar type of technology as far as high thermal mass, but this is hidden, so you can't actually see it like a wall radiator.
I remember when I received the first email from Jerry, it was probably 2 years ago, And after 2 years, after a 2030 installation you did in New Zealand, how was the feedback from your clients?
The first installation, where was that? That was down in Nelson, I think.
South Island?
Yeah, South
Yeah.
Island. We did a with one of the merchant, one of our customers down there, and
They actually put it in their own showroom,
Yeah,
in
'cause
their offices.
they're building a new showroom, and the feedback has actually been really, really good. They've
Yep.
been super positive.
Yeah, so in New Zealand we have it's like the US in one way. I mean, ourselves obviously very small, but it's a very long, skinny island, and we have quite a different climatic
So we can say
condition.
New Zealand, probably the same dimension of California, roughly.
Smaller,
More than California.
Yeah.
California's pretty big. Yeah.
closer to Italy.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, closer to Italy. But one of the things which we deal with is in the South Island, in winter, we have a very low humidity environment. So we can deliver a radiant-based system there without doing active air management and still have good performance. But then in the North Island, where we have very high humidity
In the summertime.
in summertime. So that means that then you actually have to look at your air management system as well to be able to deliver a good radiant
So
performance
basically,
and
after a
cooling.
few years you installed the radiant sealing, now you see a necessity to go into the air unit treatment market and probably also the control, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's correct.
Exactly.
Awesome. And then I'm understanding you guys have done some commercial projects as well. How early did you guys do those? That timeline? I think
So
it was-
we started commercial with this first office building for our customer, a plumbing merchant. We've done another commercial job actually in the North Island, which is a big architectural practice.
I think that's the one I posted photos
Correct.
of.
Yes.
On our
Yeah,
social
Paul,
media.
Paul Brown Architects.
Mhm.
So that system's been relatively good, but in the Auckland market we have quite high humidity, and so we've learnt some lessons from that job. There's about a month a year where the performance inside is not as good as what the client would like, but they're happy to work through that because they understand the limitations.
So the air unit, it's a control. It's right now seems like at least in the north part of the New Zealand, the island, it's should be adding much value
Yep.
to comfort and
And so
So,
those
so the Paul Brown opportunity came up actually after a presentation that Darren did, and they were looking at doing a big. Were they moving? They were moving, weren't they, to this new
Yep.
place? And he didn't want any air conditioning vents and things in his.
Said they're noisy and
place.
ugly. It's like,
Mhm.
get rid of them. I want a
Agreed.
clean surface.
Yep. So yeah, that was like a massive opportunity to get the Messana panels in there and show the market that
with control and air unit this time. So
Yeah.
in California right now, I think it's code to have a mechanical ventilation. What about New Zealand? You think it's already a code or
No.
not yet?
No, there's no code for mechanical ventilation residential. There is commercial, but not residential. But that's something that's changing. So there's been a number of changes to the building code over the last sort of 10 years, and the envelopes becoming more well sealed.
Yep.
And we have a ventilation system in New Zealand, which is very common. It's very budget, and the way it's not a two-pipe system. So the way it works is it takes air from the roof space and it pumps it down into the house, but it pressurizes the house, and so then it allows, on the house being leaky, to get your air changes. And that works very well in old wooden houses, which we've got a lot of. So you can retrofit it into these old houses and the performance is okay. But when you fit it into the new modern house, which has now got well-sealed windows, it doesn't work very well. So there is a shift in the market towards this HRV technology, which is dual pipe. You don't pressurize the house. And so what we're looking at doing is now creating a package where we can deliver the ventilation system with dehumidification, radiant surface, and we also roll on hot water production, all using the air to water heat pump. But the key to make that work properly is tying it together with the right control system. So Messana Controls allows us to deliver these packages, which then create large amount of value, much more value than having individual systems doing the same thing.
Mhm.
So the value proposition for the Messana Controls is very high.
Yeah, putting it all under the same umbrella.
and
Same user experience. You've got an app that control everything.
And this will be a New Zealand first as well, to be able to do all that under one control system. So it's pretty exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah, we're definitely blazing the trail. We're setting the bar high for our competitors.
Is there anyone out there even doing radiant cooling like you guys?
Not like us, no.
No,
Wow.
we're definitely seen some experimentation, but we don't know what kind of results they are getting from what they've done.
Our current competitors in the radiant cooling market, they have a different controls philosophy. So they set a fixed water temperature, and then they use a dew point manager which starts or stops the zone. So you get pretty jammed up because if you're too aggressive with your water temperature, your zones stop
And it's off.
and it's off. So when you really need cooling, you don't have cooling. If you're not very aggressive with your set point, your system runs all the time, but with very low power.
Yeah.
So your performance is really limited. So like to make radiant cooling work, you've got to do moving set point. You have to have the ability to move your
That's
water
our
temperature up and down.
philosophy basically from the day one.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
And actually, Jerry, probably
Yeah,
you
Jerry.
can talk a little bit about.
You have this in your own home, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So built a home, started in 2020. In 2020, yeah. 2021.
I'm sure we have some nice picture, right?
Oh yeah, those are
Yeah.
already on the Instagram
the,
on the website.
Okay.
So it's a great opportunity to put the Messana panels in my home. One of the things that we did, so we kind of went hard on the panels. I think we got about 70 to 80% throughout the house, so a lot of panels. But one of the things that we didn't really consider was the air movement side. So we haven't, and then because in Auckland we get in summer it kind of sits around 60% humidity in good times, and it got up to 90% humidity for about 2 weeks last year. So it was, so we didn't get what the results we wanted out of the system. So one of the great things about coming to California is to learn more about the air management side of things. So that's probably the next steps for our house, is to put in an air management system to improve the performance. When the conditions are around 60% humidity, we're getting really good results on the cooling side in the summer.
Good.
Very nice, yeah.
Yeah, so
Sorry, I never mentioned when you build your house to put the ATU unit or not.
I can't remember. I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure.
So, yeah, I blame you. I blame you, Francisco.
yeah. I just say for people in America who are looking at starting in radiant cooling, learn from our mistakes. If you're in a high humidity environment, you have to do air management to guarantee performance.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It's good to go through this process, like for the business, like to learn, okay, what we should and shouldn't be doing, and when we're talking to customers in the future, we've got a live example of why you should be doing.
Yeah,
these
nothing
sorts of
better than learn on your
your own home.
On your own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did the same here 12 years ago. I learned a lot, and I'm glad now we can pass to you this experience with and the mistake as well we did in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
But the control and the ATU unit in radiant cooling, I think it's a must.
Yeah, Darren and me were talking about it the other day, and one of the things Darren said is like it would have been very difficult for us to implement the control system in New Zealand without coming here and talking to you guys first.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Awesome. And then, so wait, how many projects do you guys think you've done at this point with Messana panels in general?
20?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
20 or 30. There's quite a few around now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, we've still got quite a few in front of us. We're going to invigorate the market now with the
What about having now oh, by the way, there's a coyote outside. I don't know if you want to see outside.
oh, really?
Big coyote.
I can't see it.
Yeah, anyway, so I can see that on the screen. Oh, wow, it's a big wolf.
I'm not going out there.
So what about having the option to have your installer looking remotely the system? So because I think that could be definitely an added value to you, but also to the installer.
Yes,
So,
yeah, definitely. So we do a little bit of that technology now with our current control system, but it doesn't have the flexibility and functionality of the Messana system. So definitely having offsite monitoring, being able to tune and see what differences the tuning makes to the performance of the system just helps you optimize to get the best out of the system you've installed. So
we talk also yesterday about to implement the maintenance into this system as well?
Yeah, so one of the things which Waterware just as a company is trying to do is move away from being a product supplier, like a box dropper, to be a solution provider. So we're trying to create these wraparound services where on the front side we have a quoting, like a specification service, which has a QS function, so you can calculate a realistic cost. We also can do running costs. And then on the backside, we have support to the installer when it comes to installation and commissioning and troubleshooting. So we've got a team of 5 engineers who do this sort of work. So yeah, we're creating this wraparound service. And so the next thing which we're trying to do is actually institute a standardized service program. So at the time that we're doing the quote, because we know all of the key components, we can then actually calculate what a standardized service program would look like in terms of number of things you have to do, what the estimated cost would be. So then when you're providing a cost to the client, they can see what the capital cost is, what the running cost is, and what the servicing cost is.
Wow.
So in New Zealand, there's no, currently, because the market's quite niche and it's like a cottage industry, there's no real expectation about what the service requirements for a system is. So, like when you buy a car, people expect to service it once a year. And what we're trying to do is change that philosophy. So if you do that at quoting time, when they actually receive the price of the system, they know that, okay, it's going to cost this much and I'm expected to service every year and it's going to cost about that much. So once you set that expectation at the front, then it's much easier to implement at the back. So yeah, that's something which is coming from us. We're developing now, and
awesome.
kind of thought about it on this trip and thought, oh, that's a really good idea. Let's do it.
Really comprehensive.
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly trying to work out how we can add value, not just in selling products, but also service.
Yeah, we've got this internal philosophy in Waterware where we don't necessarily look at what our competitors are doing. We're looking internally at us, and we're trying to optimize. We've got this optimizing spirit of we want to be the best version of Waterware that we can be. So you're not looking at trying to beat someone else. You're trying to look at be a better version of yesterday's version of you. And so every day, step by step, okay, how can we be better? What can we do differently? And so and we're trying to drive that through all of the companies. So, but it starts at the head and it's got to flow downwards. So
and that is very good. Makes it even more exciting with the Messana control system because that fits our DNA. It's what we want to do.
It's a massive leap forward, and so that's really good.
It's great to hear. Yeah.
What seems like you have a lot of experience, more than what we have right now, on the heat pump market, because you start you're selling heat pump also for radiant floor heating. Is that correct?
Yeah, we started 10 years ago with heat pumps.
And how's your
maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It was when they first started to introduce them to the market.
How's your experience of air to water? It's pretty new here. Go this way, right? Yeah. So, how's your experience? How to? Are you still need to convince people and customers to use air to water heat pump versus a regular condensing boiler, or people already say, yeah, that's the way to go?
It's the market perception is changing rapidly. So, if I was talking 3 years ago, yes, you'd have to convince someone to use a heat pump rather than a gas boiler because of the capital cost. But the running cost of an air to water heat pump, if you don't have natural gas available, so if you're using either propane or diesel, the running cost from a heat pump is about half of what a propane system or a diesel system is. So if you don't have natural gas to the street, where a lot of houses in New Zealand don't, then heat pump's the best option in terms of running cost, and you can offset the capital cost because the payback time really makes sense.
I just heard today on the radio, the UK for next year, they're looking to install 400,000 heat pumps just in UK.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's
So like you layer that that financial incentive on top of an environmental incentive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what's changed over the last 3 years in New Zealand. The government's been jawboning about turning off natural gas, and the perception from the consumer is there's not going to be any gas left, and we want to do the right thing, or we want to be environmental. So everybody's asking, do you have a heat pump option? So now, rather than us having to convince people, they're coming to us.
And what about tied into the solar PV? Something New Zealand is looking?
Yeah, in the right application, yes. So if you're doing commercial hot water production, then there's a very, very good use case to tying in solar PV to do moving set point and the storage. In a house application, then tying the systems together, there's less value. Because
PV or water?
PV.
PV.
Yeah, PV.
So one of the limiting factors in New Zealand is there's no subsidy around solar. So the cost of putting solar in at your home is not like the payback period's
It's
like
about 7 years.
yeah. So it doesn't really financially stack up because Kiwis are known to move about every 7 years. So you would have just paid it off and you'd be moving again. So it's something that we hope that will actually happen. The government will
The government give you an incentive to install heat pump and solar? No?
No, not at the moment.
No incentives.
Really?
No.
Italy did something pretty interesting a while ago, right? The 110%.
110%. Yeah.
They pay 110% of the
So they
upgrade.
give you money, 10% more than the money you spend for your retrofit your houses. I mean, that was meaning windows, insulation, heat pump, radiant system, and everything. So it was a good push from the government for the last, I believe, 2 years.
Yes, so the banks have started to do some stuff at home, but where you can borrow the money from the bank, and I think it's like at 1% or something like that.
Yeah, it's at a preferential interest rate.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But then there's limiting factors in that as well. You've got to be on a certain list for the banks to use that product, and that tends to be air-to-air split system heat pumps and things like that.
Yeah, there's approved appliances, and Hydronic hasn't been added to the list yet.
Hopefully soon, right?
Hopefully soon.
And then, Francesco, how does that all compare to what we see in the U.S. market in terms of legislation about heat pumps and stuff like that?
They are more like, they look more like European market compared to America.
But has the U.S. done anything quite like any policies so far pushing for specifically air to water?
Not for heat pump. I think some state has incentive if you do geothermal heat pump.
Cool.
Mostly on the East Coast.
Yeah, that makes sense.
California, the big rebates you have in on the cars, electrical car, and of course solar.
Yeah.
But not much on the heat pump.
So hopefully we'll go more towards that direction in the future.
Exactly.
Nice. Well, we're coming up on time. It's already been about 30 minutes.
Already?
So, I mean, yeah, do you guys have any?
It's quick.
Yeah, very fast. No, but it's good to know that, radiant cooling is being adopted a little more in New Zealand. Yeah, do you guys have anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
No, I think we're good. Thank you for the opportunity. We've really enjoyed being here, and we're excited about pushing this technology forward in New Zealand. And I think the reality is that people everywhere appreciate comfort. And if you want to create the most comfortable environment, you need a mix of radiant technology with air management. And if you can do it in a renewable way, that's the future for the world.
Definitely.
That's good.
Okay. And then hopefully maybe in a couple of years we can come back and have another podcast and tell you how, the success that we've seen from
Go this way. Next time we go there.
Yeah.
And we do a podcast in
you can
New Zealand.
New Zealand podcast. Awesome.
Yeah, when we come back, I'll have a grill and like a gold chain. It's like, yeah, it's been good. It's been good.
It's been real good. Awesome. Well, cool. If anyone is looking for more information about Messana, our website is messana.tech. And then same for our Instagram, just messana.tech. You guys want to send people to your website? How can you find Waterware?
Waterware.co.nz.
There we go. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today, guys.
Yeah, thanks guys.
And thanks to everyone who's listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.